Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be on Rift of Chaos, kind of. With this recent nerf to Ackerley, which they then walked back, so that is good. Where it used to be 30 stacks of poison, which I said, but now they bumped it up to 99 stacks, which is where it should have been in the first place. Being able to go over 99 stacks of poison is just, a little goofy. So that was a good change. I think Ackerley is still going to be really good. It's not going to be as crazy busted in Guild Boss, but again, it shouldn't have been that way anyway. But with that being said, with Ackerley being a key to Arctic Goliath here, since they nerfed the Frozen Seal mechanic and bouncing it back with like Sema or with Foodie or Magnus, all of those people, they now reduced that and changed a bunch of things with Sema. It was a hard nerf, and I'm kind of SOL because of it. But anyway, I digress. It made me think, we're reverting back to how Rift of Chaos originally was when it came out, and that was just locked by specific heroes to try and clear it. And it's still the case in a lot of areas. For Arctic Goliath, you kind of need, Ackerley. You kind of need Jocasta. Same thing with Earth Titan. You kind of need Jocasta there. You kind of need Brand. You might need Arlo. There are some teams that you can use, but it's definitely more gated. Like some of the Earth Titan teams, I know there's one in there with like Celestial Kane. This Barclay Cheese Comp. There's another one in here with like Punk and Celestial Kane and stuff like that. And it's not how the Rift is actually supposed to work. You're supposed to do a lot of negative effects and things like that. So my point is like people have found ways around it with like these cheese comps because there's not enough support to actually beat these stages based on what the mechanics are. So what they've been doing is they've been releasing new heroes for this to help you beat them, and I really dislike that. I know that you don't want to buff up a bunch of old characters because you do want people to try and pull new ones, but there are a handful of heroes that they already have out that are like so close to already being really good in Earth Rift, and I think it would go a long way to helping the community and the player base if they just made a couple of these minor tweaks to these heroes. And I just wanted to talk about that today. So let's just talk about right now the Earth Rift of Chaos. I am going to bring up water real quick because the first person I'm going to be talking about, I want to make a comparison. So the first one's Bachelard, right? Bachelard should be amazing in Earth Rift of Chaos. He puts up a bunch of ignites, right? 4 on like one attack. There are a couple other heroes that do this, and in combination with somebody like Arlo, it would be really cool. He does 2 ignites on his basic as well, and then he does this defense down, and then launches a bonus attack with his basic as well. This is all good. The only thing that stinks for Bachelard is his trait is like completely useless. It's probably one of the worst traits in the game because it does literally nothing. So I think all they would need to do with Bachelard, keep all of his kit the same, except change his trait to similar to Maritome, right? Maritome is a water hero with bleeds, but she does this special thing where she comes in and she launches a joint attack with her basic ability, and she has 50% chance to do it when someone applies a bleeding, and then it books up to 100%. They should literally just copy this for Bachelard to have him do joint attacks with his basic ability to add in more ignites, because that reduces the overall damage of the Earth Titan on his big AoE, which is the problem. That's what people have a hard time surviving. So, like, he's so close to being good. So if they just made that simple little change, he would then be a useful champion in Rift of Chaos with Ignite teams, The other one is Brand. So Brand's already really good. He's a free champion if you do all of the quests in the game, towards Urian and stuff. He does the attack up and defense up too, which is huge. He has this counter attack for the attack down, and he puts up a nice big shield on your entire team. So he's kind of like an integral part to Rift of Chaos teams. His basic ability for the taunt does nothing, although I don't even have that in here. I actually think Brand is perfectly fine how he is, but I'd like to see this passive change from this damage to have it booked up to attack down too. I think that would be a really nice change, and I just think it would help him be a little more efficient. I don't think you need to book Brand to beat Rift of Chaos, but I think that would be a nice change for somebody, who's going a more free-to-play friendly route. The other one is Matson. So Matson is used in a couple teams. He's there to put up Ignite, and then also this Vampiric Touch, which helps, keep your team healthy and heal up a little bit. And then on top of that, he does put additional increased damage taken, which is a nice debuff, and then applies Ignite as well. The only thing that I would recommend on Matson to make him a little bit better is make this resist down to unresistible. So you still need to build focus, right? But the way that this whole thing would play out is whenever you're building up your stacks of Ignite or your debuffs, the boss then gets additional resistance. So by the time he comes around to his next turn, his S2 has the possibility of getting resisted. So if this is unresistible and they're putting up resistance down too, it's going to make the rest of your team able to put up those debuffs the further on in the fight. The issue right now is the only way to do that is, of course, to have this new hero and have him ascend at 5, where your Ignites can't be resisted. So other than that, you can't really work around it. So they already have a character in the game that works with Ignite teams and has Resistance Down 2 in his kit. But if they just make it unresistible, I think he becomes a lot more viable. His trade is great. His basic and his ultimate are really great. It's really hard to build him in the rifts with high focus, high enough health, to survive. So I think putting an unresistible Resistance Down 2 and Ignite on his S2 would just be really, really strong for Earth Chaos. And then the other one, in the Epic section, they actually have some pretty decent options already. For the lower stages, people like Thomas even work with his counterattack. If you want to go that strategy, he does some decent damage there. There is the counterattack strategy with Rosalie and then Aramo. Those teams out there exist. So I think from the Epic standpoint, they're kind of strong. The only one that I would like to see changed is Andros. So Andros is really good. Like his design is super cool. Being able to counterattack on whenever he's attacked or whenever the hero or whenever an ally is attacked, you counterattack as well. That's great. Does a lot of damage. And then on top of that, he has Ignites, The only thing that I would like to see on him is if he takes less damage from an enemy if they have Ignite on them. It's similar to somebody like Trista here. Trista on her passive receives 60% less damage. It doesn't even need to be that high. He just needs to be able to survive like one of those big nukes because he dies way too easily. He's too squishy. So I would like to see him take some reduced damage somewhere in his kit, whether it's in his trait or something. But that would make him a lot more viable for Ignite teams. You'd still have to build him, with a high focus and stuff if you don't have Arlo A5 in your team. But that's all I have. Like just those 4 heroes. Matson getting an upgrade, Bachelard getting a little bit of an upgrade, and then more survivability from Andros, I think opens up the door for a couple more teams other than just the 1, 2, or 3 teams that we have right now. Next, we are moving on to the Water Titan. So I have 3 Legos here and then 1 Epic. So the first Lego is Bulin. I would love to see Bulin on her ultimate put up a team-wide immunity for 2 turns. I say this because, in Arena, her speed isn't high enough, for this to be like a broken ability. I think there's plenty of things out there that kind of counter immunity. But on top of that, in all honesty, we don't have a really great AoE nuker in Earth for Arena anyway. So I think that would be a kind of cool change, at least from the LEGO perspective. You do have Baron, which is a really nice AoE nuker. But if you put this AoE immune on your team, you don't have to worry about as much, resistance or anything like that, because the Water Rift boss puts up that frozen on you if you don't have more than 4 buffs on your team. So if Bulin implements this team-wide immunity, I think that goes a long way, because she's doing additional damage with her induction and she's removing positive effects on the boss. So she has the ability to remove the shield from the boss, which is kind of a pain. But being able to activate that team-wide AoE immunity, I think will open the door for a couple different teams, other than the ones that they have right now that are really focused on like Muriel or Ackerley. So that's one recommendation. The other one is Yolanda. So Yolanda, I think, is a really great support for Water Rift. The only issue is her special ability grants the bonus turn to somebody at the end of the round. Now, because they recently nerfed this, where this cooldown won't act upon turns, it's round based. I would love to see this put like instant turn. I don't think that would be too busted. She's very fast and she has a really great kit, and she's also a free to play unit. You can get her with matrixes. And also, on that fact, there is no Earth character, to my knowledge, that grants a bonus turn immediately, and all of the other elements have that. So I don't know why green can't have that. But if you do that, she's grand immune and attack up to your strongest character, whether it's like a Hyun Woo or an Elise. They get that bonus turn right away. And you don't have to deal with the counterattack ability from the boss, which is what makes Yolanda completely worthless in Rift of Chaos Water, because it's like a death sentence. You can't auto it. So if this was instant turn, along with these buffs, and then she gets this shield, which is a huge shield, and it gives your team an additional buff and then some additional survivability, because that's another issue with Rift of Chaos. I think this would be a fantastic addition to people's teams, and it would help with the survivability, because since they limited that frozen seal, mechanic, the boss is pretty hard to survive unless you have someone like Ackerley. And then last but not least, so the other thing that Earth is missing from, a Rift of Chaos perspective is they have 2 people who heal. They've got Rachel, who has, heal over time, and then Jocasta, who has the same thing. AoE heals, I mean. Now, they do have some single target heals like Mathasia, but what I would love to see is for Mathasia to have an AoE heal on her special ability. I think that would be cool, and you can even decrease the scaling of this. I don't know if people think that this would be too crazy. I think there's a lot of checks and balances in RTA for Mathasia nowadays, where I don't think she would be busted if this becomes an AoE. But this would help so much, and you can even limit this, removing all negative effects on somebody to just like the target. So it will heal everybody, but it'll only remove negative effects on, the main target. I think this would really help with a lot of teams. You wouldn't be, just dependent on Jocasta to be your healer. Like, it's Jocasta or Ackerley or bust for Rift of Chaos Water. And I think that's just lunacy, to be honest. So if they make that an AoE heal, I think it would definitely open up a lot more teams. And it's a very simple change, and I don't think it would break anything. And then for the epic section, so Karina is already a pretty usable epic in this setting. I think that Winstrix is usable on lower levels, definitely nowhere near higher levels, but Karina is definitely a higher level hero. But I think Silent has some potential. She puts up damage reduction on your team as well as defense up. So she's putting up, kind of unique buffs to people. But I would love to see this S3 change from an accuracy down. Like, that's fine. Even though it's 1 turn is a bummer, maybe increase it to 2 turns. But instead of stun, I would love to see this as a focus down for like 2 or 3 turns. Maybe it can even skill up to 3 turns. Because then you're less dependent on building all of these crazy stats for the Water Rift boss. The issue with him is you have to build resistance, you have to build focus to take off the shield, you have to have enough damage, you have to have the necessary healers, like it's all over the place. So if you have a way to reduce his focus so you don't have to depend on building resist as much, you can focus on the other things. So I think having an epic other than just Karina would be really nice as a support in that section. So those would be my changes for the Water Rift. If you had just those simple changes to existing characters, not introducing new ones. And then last but not least, we do have the Rift of Chaos Fire Boss. So the big one with the Fire Boss right now is you need no positive effects, you need healing, and then you need enough damage, but it can't be too much damage or too many attacks, or you're just, screwed. So firstly, Haruna and Grayson, these characters, they're built for Rift of Chaos, right? By removing positive effects on the target. But, as we all know, the Rift of Chaos Fire Boss puts up multiple stacks of crit rate, and they only remove one of them. So it does nothing. You still need a no positive effects hero in your team, or you're going to get wiped. So if either of these characters end up just removing, a single stack, maybe it says attacks active attacks remove 1 positive effect in all stacks of that effect on the target. Like, that's all that needs to be changed. And both Haruna and Grayson fill that role amazingly, right? Haruna more so than Grayson because Grayson hits like a wet noodle. But if they were able to remove all of the stacks, these two would be serviceable, and you wouldn't need to just solely depend on Badmar in your team or, the light twin. So that would take care of that. The other thing is if you don't fix these, I think Lyerly would be an amazing candidate to have a no positive effects on her ultimate ability for like 2 turns. She puts up the counterattack. She deals really nice damage on the ultimate, so she would fill 2 roles, right? She's filling the no positive effects role and doing a good amount of damage. And then on top of that, she does have the chance to utilize her ultimate ability more from her basic. So I think adding a no positive effects on Lyerly for 2 turns would be great, especially with the change to her recently where she increases her crit rate by 50%. It would be a little easier to build Lyerly for Rift of Chaos. And then the epic that I have targeted out here is Hazel. So Hazel is a really nice healer, but it's all single target. If they literally just made her special an AoE heal on a 3-turn cooldown, I think she could fill the role of Blackhorn. So Blackhorn is the only healer right now in this team if you don't have Badmar. Badmar, whenever you get hit by an AoE, you heal 25%. But again, like, he is such a vital role, and he's the only reason I'm stuck right now. Once I have him, I can 100% get to Rift of Chaos 12. Like, that shouldn't be the case. I should be able to do stuff with other people in this vast roster that I have. You know what I mean? So Blackhorn, if you don't have Badmar, is the only other healer. I think you do need some options in the epic slot. So if you put an AoE heal on Hazel. She'll have this single target heal, which is going to be great for your main target who's getting that huge max damage hit whenever they have the highest health. She'll heal them back up, put max health up back on them. I think it would be a great change. You can even keep her trait, useless with the stun and stuff like that. But if you put that AoE heal on her ultimate, on her special ability, I think she becomes a really nice replacement for Blackhorn. So, yeah, those are the only changes I have, guys. Let me know what you think. I think those are simple changes just for more variance to teams in the Rift of Chaos instead of releasing new heroes. I know when you guys are watching this, you're probably thinking, yeah, those are some good ideas. Maybe this idea is cool too, but the devs are never going to listen, and that might be so. But at least we can do is keep trying, keep introducing things. Maybe, one or two ideas stick and they change it. But I just wanted to introduce that video to you guys today. I like more of the discussion videos than, hero guides and things like that. So that's all I had for you today. Let me know what you think. Any changes that you would make that are easy. Simple hero changes to their abilities or something. For these quality of life changes that they do from time to time. Let me know your thoughts below. So that's all I got, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. See you.